62 minutes into a World Cup quarterfinal, a football brushed against a Spanish arm inside the Spanish penalty area, and in that single instant, an entire country stopped breathing. Belgian players surrounded the referee. Belgian fans in Los Angeles rose out of their seats screaming for a penalty. Millions watching back home in Brussels and Antwerp and Ghent leaned toward their screens, waiting for the one thing modern football promised them would always be there, the safety net, the video review, the second look. Michael Oliver waved play on, and the VAR never came. No review, no monitor, no pause, nothing. And by the time the final whistle blew on Spain's 2-1 victory, that non-decision had detonated into one of the loudest officiating firestorms of this entire World Cup, a backlash aimed squarely at FIFA, at the referee, and at a video review system that Belgium's own head coach publicly questioned the very purpose of. But here's what makes this story so much bigger than one handball. Because when you peel back the layers of what happened at SoFi Stadium, you find a night where almost everything that could break a football team broke Belgium, their captain, their goalkeeper, their legs, their luck, and the penalty everyone is screaming about might not even be the cruelest thing that happened to them. Stay with me, because we are going to take this night apart piece by piece, and by the end, you can decide for yourself whether Belgium was robbed or whether they were simply destroyed by fate itself. To understand the fury, you first have to understand the wounds Belgium was already carrying before this game even kicked off. This was not a healthy team walking into battle against one of the tournament favorites. This was a team being dismantled by its own bodies, one man at a time. Amadou Onana, one of their most important midfielders, had already been ruled out of the entire World Cup with a torn knee ligament suffered in the round of 16 against the United States. That was blow number one. Blow number two arrived at the worst possible moment imaginable. Captain Yuri Tielemans, who had featured in every single match of Belgium's run and scored twice in that dramatic comeback against Senegal, picked up an injury during the pregame warm-up and had to be scratched from the starting lineup, with Hans Vanaken drafted in to replace him. Think about that. Your captain, your midfield heartbeat, gone before the anthem finished echoing around the stadium. Garcia later confirmed Tielemans had injured his groin in the warm-up. So Belgium lined up against Spain with two-thirds of their engine room missing, facing a side that had spent the entire tournament suffocating opponents. And for a while, for a genuinely thrilling while, it didn't matter. Spain did what Spain always does. They took the ball and refused to give it back. Is their habit, they built a sizable possession edge, squeezing Belgium deeper and deeper, probing for the crack. On the half hour, they found it. Fabian Ruiz struck in the 30th minute, and the pattern of the evening looked set in stone. The favorite grinding down the wounded underdog, exactly as the script demanded. Except somebody forgot to tell Charles de Ketelaere about the script. 11 minutes later, Belgium did something that no team, not one, had managed across this entire World Cup. They put the ball in Spain's net. De Ketelaere scored in the 41st minute, the first goal Spain had conceded in the entire tournament. Sit with the weight of that for a second. An entire World Cup of matches, and Spain's goal had remained untouched, unbroken, pristine, until a Belgian side missing its captain, missing Onana, held together with backup plans and stubbornness, cracked the vault right before halftime. One apiece, game alive, and suddenly, everything Spain had built looked strangely fragile, because for all their control, they could not put this broken Belgian team away. Which brings us to the 62nd minute, the moment this quarterfinal stopped being a football match and became an argument that may never end. A cross comes into the Spanish box. Aymeric Laporte rises to clear it and heads the ball straight onto the arm of Rodri. Contact, undeniable, visible, replayed from 6 angles, contact between ball and arm inside the penalty area in a tied World Cup quarterfinal. Belgium exploded. The appeals were instant and furious. Michael Oliver did not award the spot kick, and VAR did not advise him to review the decision at the monitor. Despite replays clearly showing the ball hitting the midfielder's arm, the online reaction was swift and sharp, with an enormous wave of fans convinced Belgium had been denied a clear penalty. And this is where I have to slow down and do something the angriest voices online will not do. I have to actually walk you through the law, because the truth of this incident is more complicated and honestly, more frustrating than either side wants to admit. Here is what the rulebook actually says, and it is the entire hinge of this controversy. The IFAB handball law states that a handball offense is not committed when the ball touches a player's hand or arm directly from the head or body of a teammate. In this case, the ball had first been headed by Spain's own defender, Laporte, before striking Rodri's arm, meaning the incident did not constitute a punishable handball offense. The deflection off Laporte's head also caused a sudden change in the ball's direction, leaving Rodri with essentially no time to react, and his arm was judged to be in a natural position. That analysis didn't come from a Spanish pundit protecting his team. It came from a Swedish referee instructor who breaks down contentious decisions using the laws of the game. And he was not alone. Keith Hackett, a former FIFA referee and the ex-chief of England's refereeing body, insisted the officials made the right call, because it was not a deliberate action from Rodri when his own teammate headed the ball onto his arm. So by the cold letter of the law, the referees got it right. Case closed, right? Wrong. Because law and trust are two completely different currencies, and FIFA is discovering in real time in the replies and the phone-ins, in the furious posts flooding out of Belgium. That being technically correct means absolutely nothing when the people watching no longer believe in the system delivering the verdict, and nobody captured that collapse of faith better than the man standing on Belgium's touchline. Rudy Garcia did not scream. He did something far more damaging. He asked a question that every single frustrated football fan on the planet has asked at some point, and he asked it on the biggest stage the sport has. Michael Oliver was one thing, Garcia said, but what is VAR for 9 words? And in those 9 words lives the entire backlash, because Garcia's point cuts deeper than this one incident. He called handball decisions an eternal issue, said he wouldn't add more about the action itself, but made clear he believed it was a situation that worked against his team in a quarterfinal. The technology exists. The cameras exist, the replay showed the world exactly what happened, and the system designed to double-check the referees simply stayed silent. When the safety net doesn't even open, people stop asking whether the call was right. They start asking who the net was ever really for, and if the 62nd minute wounded Belgium, what came 9 minutes later broke their hearts completely. Thibaut Courtois, 34 years old, one of the defining goalkeepers of his generation, playing what might have been the final World Cup match of his life. He had been magnificent all evening, 4 saves on 5 shots on goal, holding this game at 1-1 almost single-handedly. Then it began to unravel in the quietest, cruelest way possible. Not a collision, not a dramatic dive, a goal kick. Courtois felt something in his muscle after a long kick early in the second half. He made more saves, felt okay, decided to continue, then kicked long again and felt it worse. That's when a goalkeeper knows it's muscular, and knows he has to be careful. He went down after making a save, sat on the turf as the teams took the second half hydration break, and was replaced shortly after play resumed. In the 71st minute, with the game locked at 1-1, Courtois walked off visibly devastated, embraced by his coach as he left the pitch. He left the SoFi Stadium field in tears. He wanted to stay. He begged, essentially, to stay. I wanted to continue, but the coach wanted someone on 100%, he explained afterward. I wanted to try to play maybe 5 to 10 more minutes because in goal I was feeling good, I was making saves. I was only disturbed to kick long. But Garcia made the brutal, defensible, agonizing call. He is one of the best goalkeepers in the world, the coach said, and so losing him was a hard hit to take. Onto the field walked Sen Lammens, 24 years old, the first goalkeeper other than Courtois to play for Belgium at a World Cup since 2002. Making just his 3rd international appearance, thrown into a tied World Cup quarterfinal with a semi-final on the line, replacing a legend who was crying on the bench behind him. There is no crueler audition in the sport, and for 17 minutes he survived it. Then came the 88th minute, and the moment that will follow this young man for years. A routine shot from Spanish center-back Pau Cubarsí, the kind of effort a keeper deals with 100 times in training, and Lammens spilled it, fumbling the ball out into his own penalty area. Mikel Merino was the quickest to react, slamming home the rebound to send Spain into the semifinals. 2-1, 88th minute, a World Cup dream, dead, not to a wonder strike, not to a moment of Spanish genius, but to one slippery pair of gloves at the worst moment in Belgian football history. And as if the night hadn't taken enough, Kevin De Bruyne had already been forced off in the 86th minute. The Golden Generation didn't lose this quarterfinal so much as it disintegrated inside it, one body at a time. Now notice something about how Spain actually won this game, because it exposes something fascinating about this team. The winner wasn't scored by a starter. It wasn't conjured by their teenage superstar or their midfield artists. It came from substitute Mikel Merino, reacting to a rebound to score his 2nd goal from the bench in as many matches. 2 knockout games in a row. The bench has rescued Spain. The favorites are advancing, but they are advancing on gifts and rebounds and super subs, and against the firepower waiting for them next, that habit is playing with fire. But let's return to the storm, because the storm is the story. In the aftermath, Garcia painted the whole night as a portrait of injustice, not corruption but something almost worse for a coach, pure merciless misfortune with the officiating sitting right at the center of it. We went in to press them. We put pressure on the key players, he said. The players were up to scratch. They sang from the song sheet that I gave them. They did exactly what they needed to do. But once again, we need Lady Luck to be on our side. And unfortunately, she was smiling at Spain and not Belgium. And there was even one final twist of the knife, deep in stoppage time. Substitute Alexis Salamakers skipped past Spain's goalkeeper, Unai Simon, only to watch his cross get cleared by Laporte straight back into Simon's arms. On another night, that's the equalizer. When something shifted on this night, of course it wasn't. So here's the uncomfortable question sitting underneath all the noise, and it's the question FIFA cannot dodge no matter how many law book explanations get published. If the Rodri decision was correct, and the referees, the instructors, and the former officials all say it was, then why does a massive portion of the football world refuse to accept it? Why did a technically sound non-call generate this level of rage? Because the relationship between fans and football's decision-makers is running on empty. VAR was sold to the world as the end of injustice. The promise was simple: no more nations going home over something a camera could have fixed. But what supporters have learned tournament after tournament is that the technology doesn't remove controversy, it relocates it. The argument used to be about what the referee saw. Now it's about what the people in the review room chose not to look at. Belgium's players and supporters were left incensed that Oliver waved away the appeals with the VAR opting against a review, and when there isn't even a check, even a correct decision feels like a door slammed in your face. The handball law itself makes this worse because almost nobody in a stadium or on a sofa carries the deflection clause around in their head. All they see is ball, arm, box, penalty. When the law and the eye disagree this violently, the institution loses either way. And Garcia's "what is VAR for?" will echo precisely because there is no satisfying answer FIFA can give a heartbroken country. The system worked as designed is true. It is also the coldest sentence in sport. And while the argument rages, a golden era quietly slipped out the back door. This was almost certainly the end of the road for the greatest generation of players Belgium has ever produced. The exit could mark the final World Cup outing for several of the team's golden generation stars, including Courtois, Kevin De Bruyne, and Romelu Lukaku, and with Garcia's contract up at the end of the tournament, the winds of change are coming. Courtois himself dropped a bombshell in the mixed zone. He said he planned on taking a year off from the national team, though Garcia revealed Courtois hadn't told him, the federation, or any teammates in the dressing room about that plan. Even the goodbye was chaotic. But listen to how Courtois chose to leave the stage, because it tells you everything about the man. First, he protected the kid whose mistake ended the dream. "Sen, obviously I gave him a big hug," he said. "For a goalkeeper, this is a Sem's feeling. He's a great goalkeeper. He will only get stronger from this." And then he defended his generation one last time. "In the big tournaments, almost always we have done well," he said. "A lot of times we get criticism that your golden generation never won anything. We are Belgium. And the record backs him up, quarterfinals or better at 3 of the past 4 World Cups. Never champions, never embarrassing. Always agonizingly close. That is the epitaph, and on this night it was written in a handball that wasn't a handball and a rebound that never should have existed. As for Spain, they march on, and the destination is enormous. This win sends them into the World Cup semifinals for the first time since 2010, the year they lifted the trophy itself. 16 years of waiting over, but look honestly at the road they took to get here. A team that couldn't finish off a wounded opponent for 88 minutes. A team rescued by an opposition goalkeeper's fumble and a substitute's instincts. That version of Spain now walks into a collision with the most dangerous team left in this tournament. Spain face France in the semifinal on July 14th as they chase a second World Cup title with the match set for Arlington, Texas on Tuesday. France will not spill a shot into Spain's path. France will not need Lady Luck. If Spain bring this same blunt edge to Texas, the same fans celebrating tonight will be the ones panicking by Tuesday evening. So let's land this where it started, with that ball, that arm, and that silence from the review room. Was Belgium robbed by the strict letter of the law? No. The deflection off Laporte's head, the lack of reaction time, the natural arm position, the officials can defend every syllable of that decision, and genuine experts have lined up to defend it for them. But being right is no longer enough, and that is the real crisis FIFA is staring at after this quarterfinal. When a decision this pivotal happens in a game this big, and the review system doesn't even visibly engage, the governing body doesn't just lose an argument, it loses believers. Belgium will spend the next 4 years convinced their golden farewell was stolen at SoFi Stadium. Spain will spend the next 4 days praying their bench magic holds one more time, and FIFA will spend the rest of this tournament learning that in modern football, perception punishes you even when the rulebook protects you. Now I want to hear from you, because this one genuinely splits the room. Knowing the deflection rule, knowing the ball came off Laporte's head first, do you still believe Belgium deserved that penalty? Or was this just the cruelest possible ending for a team that fate had already decided to bury? Drop your verdict in the comments, hit that like button if this breakdown gave you the full picture the highlight reel skipped, and subscribe right now because Spain versus France on Tuesday has all the ingredients to be the match of this entire World Cup, and we will be all over it the second that final whistle blows.